and fulfill this promise through Joshua being the leader. And so generations have now passed between Abraham and Moses, and now it's been 40 years since that Red Sea crossing. And so the difference between these two passages, or these two events, is when God was calling Moses and his those who followed Moses out of Egypt, he was calling them out of something, and now Joshua is actually taking the children of Israel into something, and he's taking them into promise. But the river is at flood stage, and it is overflowing its banks. And isn't it just like that in our lives, where God has spoken things in our lives, and we are right there on the brink of the promise, and here comes the flood. And we've got to get to the other side, and the only way to get through it is to get in that river. It's the only way to do it. Let's read in Joshua chapter 3, verse 17. It says, the priests who carried the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord stopped in the middle of the Jordan and stood on dry ground, while all Israel passed by until the whole nation had completed crossing on dry ground. I'm just going to stop right there. You know, I thought about the whole dry ground thing, and I believe the Lord did that because he just didn't want to hear them complain. Can you imagine stepping into that riverbed and people thinking, oh my gosh, would you just look at this? Can you see that? And so I think that he just, he did that because he loved them. In Proverbs, it says that, you know, he gives us wealth and he brings no sorrow with it. And so he did that for the children, and that he would do that, let them walk on dry ground, I think is pretty neat. Chapter 4, verse 1, it says, when the whole nation had finished crossing the Jordan, the Lord said to Joshua, choose 12 men from among the people, one of each tribe, and tell them to take up 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan, from right where the priests are standing, and carry them over there with you, and put them down at the place where you stay tonight. So Joshua called together the 12 men he had appointed from the Israelites, one from each tribe, and said to them, go over before the ark of the Lord your God into the middle of the Jordan, and each of you is to take up a stone on his shoulder according to the number of tribes of the Israelites, to serve as a sign among you. In the future, when your children ask you, what do these stones mean? Tell them that the flow of the Jordan was cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it crossed the Jordan, the waters of the Lord were cut off. These stones are to be memorial to the people of Israel forever. So the Israelites did as Joshua commanded them. They took 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan, according to the number of the 12 tribes of the Israelites, as the Lord had told Joshua, and they carried them over there with them to their camp, where they put them down. Now Joshua set 12 stones that had been in the middle of the Jordan at the spot where the priests who carry the Ark of the Covenant have stood. And they are there to this day. Let's pray. God in heaven, I thank you so much for the opportunity to just dig in your word. And Lord, we need you. We need you right now. Holy Spirit, I need you to come and use me as your tool. I pray, Lord, that the words that I speak are the words of you. I pray, Lord, that the message that is spoken is the message of you. And Father, right now, I just pray that you would hide me behind the cross. Let it no longer be me, but you who lives inside of me. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen. Now, when we think about this story, I want us to think about it with fresh eyes. Okay, so let's take a look at this story like we've never seen it before, because it really parallels to my own story. I have 3 points that I want to share with you today, and if I had to title my testimony for today, it would be called The Middle. The first point that I want to make to you is the testimony that's in the middle, and that if you want to go back to Joshua 3:17, where it says that the Ark of the Covenant was to go into the river first. The Ark of the Covenant is also known as the Ark of Testimonies. And so The Ark of the Testimonies was a box, really. It was a chest that was overlaid in gold on the outside and on the inside. It had a lid that was also overlaid in gold and had two cherubim on the top of the lid, and each cherubim had wings that were kind of spread over on each side, and the center between the two cherubims was called the mercy seat, and it was the place where God dwelt. And so inside of that Ark of the Covenant, or Ark of Testimonies, were some things that the children had brought from Egypt to remind them of what the Lord had delivered them from. Inside the ark was a pot of manna from where they had eaten manna in the desert. It had Aaron's staff. It had the tablets of the 10 Commandments, and it also held Joseph's bones, because he said he wanted to come into Canaan before he died. So this was a very sacred chest, and you couldn't just go about it any old way. Okay, so the chest had these staves, or these rods that were kind of made onto this to the ark to hold it. And what happened is that only a certain group of people could actually carry this chest, and it was the priests, the Levitical priests. And when they picked it up, they had to pick it up and put it on their shoulder. Okay, and so what happened was that they had to carry this chest into the sea, because in the scriptures it said that the priests who carried the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord stopped in the middle of the Jordan and on dry ground, while all Israel passed by until the whole nation had completed crossing on dry ground. Now, there was a bunch of people. There were a bunch of Israelite children who had to cross over. And though the depth and the width of this river was not the depth and the width of the Red Sea, it was still depth and width. If you think about where the Jordan River is, here we've got the Sea of Galilee, and then we have the Dead Sea, and the Jordan River kind of connects the two. And so at its most narrow part, it's about 1,300 feet. The most wide is about 10,000 feet. The depth is about 50 to 60 feet. But the thing is, can you imagine being that priest holding on to this ark, and you see that the waters are already it's flooded, so the waters have breached the banks, and Joshua is telling you to cross into the river, and you have no idea what's fixing to happen, but you're just trusting. You're just trusting in that point. And the Bible says that when the priests stepped their feet into the water, that the Lord cut off the water from coming down and heaped it up, and then allowed the water to continue on down to the Dead Sea. And so here we have this dry ground, and this testimony is now in the middle. And see, the thing is, their parents crossed through the Red Sea, but they didn't. Their parents experienced the great move of God, but they were not there to see it. All they have were the stories. On the other side of their parents' crossing was a desert, and on the other side they wandered around in that desert and eventually died. And I can't help to think if those priests thought about that as they were fixing to go into that river. Because you see, it's in the middle of that river where it really gets real. Like we mentioned, it's supposed to be carried on the shoulders. And so you don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but you know that you're in the river, and it's on dry ground, so you're in this riverbed, and you see people passing by you. And we've all been in the middle of something. We've all been in the middle of something. And the thing is, the priest, if you're in the middle, if there were 6 priests on either side, and you're bearing the weight of this testimony, and you see people going through their middle pretty quickly, and all you have is the back of someone's head, so they really can't engage with you. someone's at the back of your head and you really can't engage with them. The ark is blocking your vision, so you're hoping that the water stays and that you're not consumed by the rushing water coming back. And you see this water that's already gone, and you just have to stand. You just have to stand. And that's much like it was with my story. Because in 2004, my mother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. She went through treatments, and she did well for about a year.